So I don't know if you're familiar with the Julian Assange story, but Julian Assange exposed war crimes of our government, and for that, all the Western governments have been trying to kill him. And the journalists in America were very slow to come around to defending him, and lots of them still don't. Lots of the people who work at MSNBC, NBC, and CNN, and the Washington Post and New York Times, our big news people, they're all fascist sympathizers, which is why they don't stand up for Julian Assange. Some of them do. WikiLeaks, Reporters Without Borders, calls again for all charges against Assange to be dropped and for him to be immediately released. So Reporters Without Borders are saying all of his charges should be dropped and he should be released. Here it is. The Courage Foundation says Assange's lawyer, Barry Pollock, said in a statement that the government's relentless pursuit of Julian Assange poses a grave threat to journalists everywhere and to the public's right to know. While today's superseding indictment is yet another chapter in the U.S. government's effort to persuade the public that its pursuit of Julian Assange is based on something other than his publication of newsworthy, truthful information, the indictment continues to charge him with violating the Espionage Act based on WikiLeaks publications exposing war crimes committed by the U.S. government. So this guy, the reason why I'm telling you this is because I happen to be on Twitter, and this guy who's a big fraud, this guy named Mark S. Zaid, or Zaid, Z-A-I-D, however you pronounce his last name, and he puts Esquire at the end just to let you know he's a super douchebag. He says, who knows if we'll ever see Assange in a U.S. courtroom, but this is a message to those who want to undermine U.S. national security that you will be pursued. And no, I do not view him or WikiLeaks as journalists deserving of protection or that this is a slippery slope. So he disagrees with Reporters Without Borders and the Courage Foundation. This guy tries to pretend that he's an attorney who handles cases involving national security, security clearances, government investigations, media, freedom of information, and whistleblowing. And he says he's nonpartisan. There it is, just so you know. So this is such a clear-cut case. Even corporate tool Chris Hayes gets it right. That's how clear this is. Corporate tool Chris Hayes, who is paid to manufacture consent, actually had to break down and tell the truth on Twitter. Not his show, but on Twitter. The espionage indictment of Assange for publishing is extremely dangerous. A frontal attack on the free press. Bad, bad, bad. He doesn't say unconstitutional. He doesn't say it. But that was from May 23rd, 2019. Even Chris Hayes knows to indict Assange for publishing is extremely dangerous and a frontal attack on the free press. You know who doesn't know that? This douchebag, Mark Zaid, who claims he's there to help whistleblowers. This guy, he looks like that kind of a guy, right? Totally that kind of a guy. Crack like a pretzel, that guy. Guy would crack like a fucking pretzel. That guy breastfed till he was 15. Here's what he tweets out. Whistleblowers are needed now more than ever. They must be persuaded that while there are always risks, the system can protect them. The last op-ed in New York Times by Andrew and me. That's the same guy who wants to fuck over Julian Assange. The same guy who tweets this out. Who knows if we'll ever see Assange in a U.S. courtroom, but this is a message to those who want to undermine U.S. national security that you will be pursued. And no, I do not view him or WikiLeaks as journalists deserving protection. But he writes a thing that whistleblowers are needed now more than ever. They must be persuaded that while there is always risk, the system can protect them. Well, the biggest whistleblower is Julian Assange. Oh, so you're a fraud. You pretend that you defend whistleblowers, but then you work with the CIA and the government and the Justice Department so they can get convicted, like John Kiriakou. That's what this guy does. This guy pretends to be a guy defending the Constitution, free speech, and whistleblowers, and he's really working for the state. I retweeted his stupid tweet, and I said, authoritarians, fascists, and war criminals have always relied on the complicity of pukes like you to do their bidding while slandering journalists, exposing their crimes. Good to see you not let them down. So that got a lot of action on Twitter. And dummy fraud Mark Zaid decided to respond to it. And he thought this was a real winning tweet. He said CNN describes Dore's show as a, quote, a far-left YouTube channel that peddles conspiracy theories, such as the idea that the Syrian chemical weapons attacks are hoaxes. Does this shock anyone that he is an Assange supporter and thinks I do the bidding of Trump? The guy's such a dummy, he doesn't even know that this has been debunked. That it's been proven. CNN that sends a reporter to sniff a backpack that they think has sarin gas on it. That CNN was lying about Syria, just like they lie about all the wars. And so I retweeted, I said, the puke pushing to jail journalists like Julian Assange is still pushing the already debunked false CIA propaganda about gas attacks in Syria as a way to try to discredit me. FYI, my show debunks CNN's pro-war propaganda on the regular. Their smears of me equal badges of honor. That got 3,000 likes. That did pretty well. Mark was getting owned. He was getting ratioed in his own thread. Mr. Whistleblower Protector, who's actually a whistleblower screwer over. If you're a whistleblower, do not go to this fucking guy. He will sell you out to the Justice Department, the CIA, and the state. This guy is not to be trusted. He still is on board with Syria. He still pushes the CIA line in Syria as a way to try to discredit me. Didn't work. He got ratioed hard in his own thread. And now you know that he's 100% fraud who probably breastfed till he was about 15. And now he works for the establishment to smear truth tellers and jail journalists that expose war crimes. Supporting Assange is the radical left wing's equivalent of MAGA. You mean Chris Hayes is MAGA? Chris Hayes. You mean Reporters Without Borders? They're the left wing's equivalent of MAGA? Is that who you are? Tell me so I could just block you. That also got ratioed hard. So underneath that, people went after him. They go, I'm not an anarchist. I believe the public has a right to be informed so we can make decisions based on truthful information. Publishing the truth is not anarchy. It's service. 68 likes. Julian Assange is a hero. He's slowly rotting away in a jail cell for embarrassing the U.S. empire for the crime of revealing their crimes. 79 likes. That's on that guy's own thread. This guy says, just block me now then. The public has a right to know about the war crimes their government commits in their name. That's now a radical left position? So then this douchebag from the CIA tries to defend Mark Zaid as he's getting his ass handed to him in his own thread by his own followers. He's getting ratioed to fucking death because he's pretending to oppose Trump and wants to prosecute Julian Assange. He's actually a Trump supporter. So here's what this guy says. Stephen A. Cash, proud alum, also proud tool and proud fucking professional liar. He says, do you have any idea what Mark Zaid actually does for a living? So look at that. Look at he got ratioed 24 responses, 7 likes. This guy, Andrew Briner, says, when a CIA officer defends you, you're probably on the wrong side of things. He's saying this guy's a CIA officer. He goes, do you know any CIA officers? Well, I don't know. How about you, you fucking idiot? National Security White House Colonel, former chief. How about you, you fucking moron? Yes, I am a former CIA. There's no such thing as former CIA officer. I believe in the importance of lawful whistleblowing. I support the idea that even people who I disagree with or are adverse to institutions I usually support, the CIA should be able to have lawyers like Mark Zaid comfortable in that bed. There's no such thing as a former CIA officer, you silly spook. And he got ratioed on that too. Quit trying to virtue signal like you give a fuck about the truth or supporting or protecting. You're a fucking spook who puts people in jail for telling the truth about the government. That's who you are, Stephen A. Cash, you fucking lying fraud. Such a fucking coward. Such a fucking coward. Here's Mark Zaid going on CNN to push a conspiracy theory himself, while he calls for the prosecution of people who tell the truth. Here's Mark Orfila. He says, CNN's Mark Zaid, a lawyer, suggests Assange should be charged with a crime for promoting a conspiracy theory, while in the same breath, he's promoting his own conspiracy theory that Assange was involved in the hacking of the DNC. The Mueller report determined this to be utterly false. So he's still pushing a bullshit, another debunked conspiracy theory on CNN. That's what CNN does. They push pro-war CIA talking points conspiracies, and then when you debunk them, CNN writes an article saying you're a conspiracy theorist because you don't agree with their conspiracy that they were handed by the CIA. That's how reporting at the CNN works. And then they bring on this guy who's a fraud for the establishment, a paid tool, to come on and say I'm a whistleblower defender and we should prosecute Julian Assange. There he is. There's the guy who breastfed till he was 15.
I love how he's posing in front of the International Spy Museum.
International Spy Museum. And I'm going to guess his penis is an innie. If I'm wrong, prove me wrong. Send me a dick pic. I'd like to see it. Okay, there it is. Today's worst person in the world, as Keith Olbermann used to say. Pretend whistleblower, but actually working to jail whistleblowers. If I was a whistleblower, that's the last fucking guy I would call. Ask John Kiriakou. Hey, this is the part where I tell you where our live shows are, but there aren't any. And then I would tell you to go join our premium, but nobody has a fucking job. So why don't you just enjoy the video?